presentation, by the way. It's not our presentation. This is what OSHA puts out there so people can actually go. You know, they ask questions, why is OSHA important to you? Why is OSHA important to you?
Please go on with that.
Do you know what rights all the workers have under OSHA?
Yeah, like what do you call it? You can read the hazardous material deal, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Talking about that.
Well, they're right. So what they're talking about is when a worker shows up to your project, what can they ask for? What are the things that they ask for you?
Porta can over there and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, Porta Can's one of them, which is not
Well,
really.
MSDS sheets were probably.
That's what MSD is. There you
Yeah.
Matter of fact, right now you bring Porta Cans. How many Porta Cans do you gotta get on your project when you?
go. Not enough.
Hang on the side.
Huh? Been on the side?
It's per man, it's per man. It's
I
supposed
think
to
we
be.
got about 6, 2 women's, 4 men's.
How many guys do you have on the job?
300.
During full-on construction, about 80
Maybe.
to 100.
So the OSHA actually says 25. The manufacturer says 20. Per job, right? Per Porta Can. So you actually have to look at what the manufacturer says, because that rule's stricter. The other thing that you need to make sure is you do have someone where they can wash their hands. That is, right now in Houston, that is what they're citing for the most.
Yeah.
In all the years I've been in construction, we never got cited for that. In the last 3 years, I've seen probably 15 citations on that,
Really?
just here in Houston.
Okay.
So it just depends on who the inspector is, how lucky you're gonna get on what they actually point out. But there's obviously some inspectors here that are looking at that specific thing. So that's something you need to look out for. How many Porta Cans do you have for the people you have on the job site? And then do you have a hand wash station?
Hand wash station, it can't be them little foam freaking non-waterless things.
So we have the waterless ones where you pump with your feet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be those, as long as you have a station where they can wash their hands. Okay? So everybody knows what OSHA is, right? Occupational Safety and Health. They are part of the labor government. It was by President Nixon. We're gonna go over that specific stuff. Their mission is to develop new programs. So all their programs are set up because there's something that happened before. Usually we say that the OSHA manual is written in blood, right? Those rules exist because somebody got killed, somebody got hurt, and now those rules exist because of that. They actually don't provide training. So when they're talking about providing training programs, you can go online and you can download a lot of videos that you can use on the job site, as far as, different type of trainings that they have. And then what are they looking at right now? What are the main things that are coming out, new rules and stuff like that? Okay? So this is the rights that all workers have under OSHA. So they have a right to a safe and healthful workplace. So any worker can go to your job site and there's an issue there, they can point it out to you and you have to fix that issue. Whether it's you shut the job down, you close that area down, you fix it, whatever it is, that is your responsibility to do as the general contractor. Okay? They have a right to know about hazardous chemicals. What are we talking about that?
MSDS.
SDS, right? So it's not MSDS anymore. 2012, it went to SDS. It's about the M off that stuff. So all these books are books that you need to have on your job site from all your contractors. That's something you asked for?
I got no chemicals.
You cannot say that either. You do have chemicals on the job. Okay? I actually said that on the job.
We got sheetrock, mud, and everything else. What a paste.
Yeah, I actually said that to an inspector on the job site, that contractor didn't have chemicals. We got cited for that. Okay, so you need to make sure you have a book, a safety manual, and a SDS book.
Yeah,
for all
first
your
aid kit.
contractors.
First aid.
Correct, that's something separate, but yeah, you gotta have first aid kit too.
Yeah.
What about training? Do you ask for any training documentation from your contractors?
They better know how to drive the lift.
They better know, or you better have documentation that proves that.
Yeah, certificate, they should have.
Yeah, you have to have a copy of that stuff. Nobody's here from the last job, so they got that OSHA one, right?
No, they're not. They're all in a meeting.
Okay. So as far as that job, you can go over there and ask them, what were the things that OSHA asked for? That's for the safety manual for each contractor that you have. that you have on the job site. They ask for each, hazardous communication program.
JSAs.
They don't ask for JSON, that's a specific company specific, thing. What was that?
What's the name you all have?
Safety manual?
Okay,
Hazardous communication program?
No, I don't. You're still, it's under 230, don't
okay.
And training documentation.
First aid kit. I do, I got.
You do have to have a first
I
aid
got
kit,
one.
but let me ask this, how many of you are first aid CPR trained?
I got my card. Valid.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay, so as far as the GC, everybody has to have somebody trained in first aid CPR
And what else?
at the job at all times, okay? Another thing we need to have is the emergency evacuation plan. You have to set that up on your job site, and in construction, that's one of the harder things, you have to keep up with that, emergency evacuation. You have to conduct a drill once a year, doesn't matter how you conduct it, as long as everybody on the job site understands what that, emergency evacuation plan is,
Oh, egress.
okay? What about fire extinguishers? How many of y'all order fire extinguishers for your job site?
I got one in my truck, man, you gotta have one.
So you gotta have one on the job, and it's per, every 3,000 square feet.
Yeah, we work mostly outside of this building.
Okay,
You can get them free in the city.
so as far as the handout poster they're talking about right there, that's that sign that you have right there. It didn't print out too good. I can actually send it to y'all. Does everybody have the OSHA posters on the job?
I'm in my truck.
Nope.
No, I don't have any, but I'm not, they've got them,
Who's that?
Metro, they got them in there, what do you call maintenance room.
But you're the GC there, right?
Right.
Yeah, you gotta have your own.
My kids are in there, okay.
Okay? There's a set of signs y'all need to have. I'm gonna send that to y'all.
Yes, that'd be great. I'll make sure that all the sites.
Does it have to be on the job site or if you're on construction trailers, okay?
It's construction training. So on the job where employees can, look at it.
Who's out there?
Okay?
Can you tell me the?
What that sign actually talks about is exactly, well, that sign is actually there, that, the blue one. Those are some of the things that you have there. Read it when you get a chance. It just talks about what are the OSHA guidelines, well, how does OSHA work with your employees and with the employers, okay? So, this is, Safety Act 1970. OSHA was created to, provide workers the right to a safe and healthy workplace. It is, the duty of the employers to provide workplaces that are free from known hazards, any hazard. So even if it's not in the standard, most companies, most general contractors actually get cited what's called the general duty clause, which it talks about that anytime there's a hazard, you have to fix that hazard on the job. So don't think that because it's not written somewhere, they can't cite you for it. I've seen citations, which is another issue I've seen on some of your jobs. As far as your trailers, if you don't cut that grass around the trailer, you will get cited for that. You cannot have that grass too high around the trailer, usually where the problem is, right? It's that all that stuff's gotta be cleaned up, where you can't have any pests or anything, lying around the trailer itself. Okay? Alright, so everybody know now that this is called the SDS. This is one of the main questions OSHA's always gonna ask. We spent about 2 hours that day when I showed up just talking about the SDS book, the HASCOM books and all that stuff. So do y'all have the SDS book at your job for Horizon?
Not for that.
Okay? You gotta make sure you have this. You have that somewhere, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what you need to do when you first show up on that job site is figure out what are the chemicals that Horizon is gonna use there. So what are some of the chemicals that y'all use there?
That's a GC, Windex.
Windex. Fire extinguisher, you need an SDS for that. I got cited for citing 409 in the restroom that I let the OSHA inspector borrow.
He didn't like you.
He actually did, he did show up there 2 times, it was actually,
It was your company, so he burned out your meeting.
But those are things they cite you
No,
for. We actually let him borrow the restroom. There was a bottle of 409. He asked for the SDS. We didn't have it. We got a citation for it. Okay? So you gotta make sure any chemical you have on the job, you have to have an SDS for. And then it is also your responsibility to make sure that all your contractors have the SDS for whatever chemicals they bring on the job. Okay? This is another training that documentation you need to have from your company, from those companies. Have they received training on HASCOM, the HASCOM program? Do they know where their sheets are at? Do they know how to read those forms? Do they know how to ask for them? It's simple stuff. All you need to worry about is, have they received that training? Give me a copy, put it in your safety manual, you're good to go. And then the OSHA inspector will show up, just like they showed up last time, and they'll make copies of random books to make sure all that stuff is there. Okay? And then the big issue with this right now is, I don't know if you're all familiar now with the silica standard.
That's great.
All right, everybody here that has, even your mustache, pretty soon is gonna go away.
What?
Okay? If you're exposed at any time to silica, you have to protect your workers from it. That is a big deal. As a matter of fact, on that job, they were gonna get cited for the silica standard when they weren't even working on that day. So all your masonry guys, all your sheetrockers, anybody that screws into sheetrock,
Electrician.
electrician, stuff like that, have to have some type of silica training, and then have to have the proper protection. Okay, and that's the big one right now. This is the rule that just came out, so they're pushing this one harder than anything else. This is the new asbestos pretty much. Okay. Yeah, you make sure you make yourself familiar with that if you haven't heard of this.
This is something they have to.
We can get on here for a month.
Some in on the contract, because it's really funny, said my job is I and I have to let everybody without saying have it. That job is gonna be empty.
So the problem is that your contract does say that they have to follow all federal rules as far as safety. This is not a Horizon rule, this is a federal rule. So
You have all that.
you gotta make sure your contract, it's better to put it in the contract, actually, it's not like that. But yeah, it's a federal rule, I mean, they have to follow it whether they want to or not. Okay,
When was this implemented or implemented? I've never even heard of it.
Silica came out in 2016, October 2016 for construction.
That's why, okay. Okay, we can move on. Yeah, try and keep up to date.
I figured it was coming. I'm just waiting on that.
Because the sheetrock dust, they're all sanded and they're no fat and stuff. Oh, yeah.
I mean, cause I've dealt with asbestos, actually removals and stuff, and silica is kind of put in to replace.
No,
that. And then fiberglass, you got this glass floating around,
All day long.
gets it in the sunlight, and you're
It's
breathing.
good for you a little bit.
I don't think that's worse for you than, silicon, but anyway.
Mercury, I
Let's
know.
go.
Yeah, so just make sure it's something y'all look for, y'all can send me an email, I can send you some information on that stuff. You go to the OSHA website, like I said, get some information, but this is something that y'all do have to push on your project. There is no getting away. If you have concrete contractors, you have to make sure they have their own IWAS station for the work.
Okay, water don't count?
I have not been to one of your jobs where y'all have the proper IWAS station.
No, I'm saying a jug of water don't count. They ain't gonna let it fly.
No. And those bottled waters of IWAS are not sufficient.
That's what I mean. No,
We cannot use those.
And then once you step in and.
Either step in or you have those big green ones that flow for a little while.
plumbing.
You use special water?
Well, you put regular water and then you put conditioner on the water. But it's got, everybody here is supposed to have one of those items.
Maintained monthly.
It depends on the manufacturer. Some are every 3 months, or some there's a year. It just depends how much money I want to waste on those IWAS stations. Vitamin C does.
A lot of water, good. You're shooting up. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but aside from your IWAS station, if you have a concrete contractor, they have to have their own IWAS station for the guys.
An additional one.
An additional, correct.
Yeah.
It's a common thing for that.
Okay? So, and let me tell you the way you are gonna fight these new contractors, because I know you are gonna end up fighting about this. All you need them to do is tell them read their own SDS, and the SDSs will tell them what they're supposed to follow. You don't have to go through no contractual thing or anything like that. They have to follow their SDS, tell them to read it, you're done with that conversation there. I mean, you know, I know a lot of times we get into those contractual issues, but this is rules that they're supposed to follow, and they should have looked up their SDS before they showed up to your job.
Now, is that just for pouring concrete or cutting concrete, or does it matter?
So, I'm gonna tell you, just to reference back to the SDS for the concrete that they use. But pouring concrete, cutting concrete, anything to do with concrete pretty much, they're gonna have to have their own license.
So what if there's different subcontractors that's drilling an anchor to the concrete, do they have to have a high wash station for that too? Because there's other trades that.
So that exposure is not as high as far as, it depends on the machine they're using. And the SDS will actually tell you, you know, the different things that they can do. Now, you can eliminate eye wash stations, respirators, all that stuff. If you start misting all the concrete with water, you've eliminated the hazard. Problem is, you can't really do that all the time. And you do that when you first pour in your first slab and stuff like that. Once you start going vertical, that's not as easy to keep doing, especially with sheetrock. You can't do that at all with sheetrock. So this is a different thing that y'all gonna have to see, depending on the SDS. But y'all call for concrete trucks all the time, right?
Come on.
Yeah? How many times have y'all asked for the SDS for that concrete?
You got lime in it.
We got
Monkey.
ash.
You got, how many sheep I got?
Who's your sub?
Raul.
Atlantic Belcon.
No. It depends on sub. I mean, you have applied. I mean, you look at applied manual, they have everything set up. They have all the training. They have everything set up for this new standard that came out already. So that's something, I mean, like I said, just something you look at when you start a project and make sure they have those things set up.
Or you gotta look
They either spend the money up front or they're gonna spend the money during the project. Okay? As far as record keeping, so everybody here is supposed to maintain a log for any first aid incidents on project, any recordables or anything like that.
Now, illnesses, no. If you go to, if he's sick, you gotta go log that in the logbook?
What they mean by illnesses is illnesses that happen on the job.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not anything outside of the project. But, and here's the thing with the first aid kits. I'm gonna send y'all a form that has the required first aid stuff. I don't know how many of y'all like to order Advil and all that stuff. You can end up in a lawsuit with something like that.
He's about the certified one.
What is a certified
The
one?
one I got in my truck, I don't know, but I know it flies.
But the
When
problem-
we were on a Harvey job, I mean, worked for other companies, we had to have our own treatment stuff. All the foremen had to have seen, they suggested this what you buy, so.
Mhm.
I don't know what it got in, but I never opened it
But they
yet.
suggested your contractor to buy it, right?
Right, well, we bought them ourselves, which, whatever.
See, the Harvey and those companies around put themselves in that liability.
Right, they just say, if you got this, you won't get, won't get rolled up or won't get a ticket for it. It's
Right.
it's sufficient. It's only about this big.
So either y'all get your contractors get the first aid kit, which is not happening. Right now, what's happening is y'all have the first aid kit for all your contractors. Cannot take that kind of liability on Horizon. Okay, the contractor you work for decided to take that liability on themselves. So you gotta make sure that y'all have just the things that are needed, unless you're gonna ask for, hey, are you allergic to this? So if he is allergic, ends up fainting outside the job, it doesn't fall back from Horizon. Okay, so, everybody familiar with the 300 log? Does everybody have it posted on their job right now? Okay, from the beginning of February to the end of April, you're supposed to post what's called the 300 log on your job site. What that is the total number of injuries that Horizon has had over 2017. And then that's gonna give you a number, and that number, it gives you the injury number, overall recordable rate, and then that stuff has to be posted on your job site for 2 months, 3 months.
If you need that,
Because somebody in the office got a paper cut, we got to put it on our job site?
That's the first state, that's a different thing.
Okay.
You gotta log the first day, you're not gonna put it on this.
So you're saying.
Sound like an
if-
admin deal.
If somebody else has an injury on a different job that I have now on, I have to post that report.
Happens.
So this report is for Horizon.
Correct.
So it has nothing to do with the report that you do for your job site. Your job site is to keep a log of who gets injured on your job site only. What this report does, it gives you total numbers of injuries in Horizon itself through the whole company.
Okay.
And then you just have to post it. That's to let company contractors know this is what Horizon has done over 2017. And then OSHA, if the OSHA shows up, they're usually gonna ask for the last 3 years.
What are you gonna like, what?
But you can log that in the program.
No, that'll happen to church softball, man. Don't happen at your home.
You can probably download that on the website for safety.
How do you put that on your parking lot job?
In your truck.
There you go, see, our office, there you go, that's, we got that.
Carry a big old piece of plywood right there with all that stuff.
Fold out chair.
All right. The other thing everybody has a right to do is to request, for an OSHA audit, or they can complain to OSHA. This is usually how OSHA shows up to your job. It's a disgruntled employee can call OSHA. OSHA doesn't go to that job right away. What they'll actually do is send an email to the owner here, and then you have to answer that email with pictures and stuff of if that issue actually exists. If you don't actually answer that email, then you get 6 inspectors show up to your job, and believe me, at that point, you're already gonna get citations of, several citations. Okay? And we talk about training. So some required training that covers topics such as chemical hazards, we talked about that. That's hazard communication that everybody needs to have. You have equipment hazard. Anybody operating a backhoe, a skid steer, a forklift, scissor lift, boom lift, all that stuff is documentation that you need to receive before they show up to your job. Okay? Noise, they gotta go through an orientation with that. Confined spaces, I don't think I've been to a job where you already deal with that right now.
This is a confined space.
No, it's not. Fall hazards and destruction is another one. So anybody that puts a harness on your project better have fall protection training.
Yeah, but those cards, I mean, I've got a card in there for all the lifts and stuff like that. They made it in the office, so you can't really tell. But you're just saying, get it from them and copy them?
Yeah, maybe copy and have it on your job. Your duty is to.
No, I'm not listening to you. I ain't getting no ticket, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, and believe me, there is.
I got one in my wallet from a few years ago.
Well, they expire too.
No, this one was a bootleg one from the office. And it's like, here's your card, everybody.
You are being recorded.
though.
I'm just, well, that's the truth, so that we got. I had a line under.
All right, and then workstation equipment is another one. So we gotta remember that the training does have to be in the language that the employees are gonna understand. So you have to make sure, all you need to make sure is you get the documentation. As far as Horizon employees, if you have Spanish workers, then this is where you start worrying about that. This is just something as the general contractor, you usually receive a copy of.
If you need it translated into Vietnamese, Spanish, Farsi, whatever you need, just email it to me and I'll have it.
Alright. So as far as participating in the OSHA inspection, this is usually when I talk to the workers, I'm talking to Horizon right now. You really don't have a choice. You're gonna participate in the inspection because most of y'all are actually in charge of those projects, okay? Here's the one thing that I need to make sure y'all understand. You don't give any information on OSHA that they do not ask for, okay? And they don't care what you wrote on your contract. That is none of their business. And the other one, we're given information that we're not supposed to give again, okay? When they ask for something, you either have it or you don't. That's it. And this is why most of the time, if OSHA does show up to your job site, usually they do give you about an hour for somebody from safety to show up. This last time, they did not want to give us that time. They wanted to walk the job. They decided they were still going to walk the job. I had that meeting with them afterwards. Then we walked the job again for some other issues. But at that time, when they first get there, here are the main things you need to ask for. One is you do need to ask for their badge. You have to ask for their badge and ask them, and then you're gonna confirm that that badge is actually valid. Houston is one of the cities that's well known for fake OSHA inspectors showing up to the job. Okay, so you have to make sure you verify that. A lot of consultants have got caught doing that to get training from contractors.
Whoa.
Okay, so you need to make sure that you get asked for that badge. Once you ask for that badge, you're gonna call the OSHA office and they're gonna confirm that it's an actual OSHA inspector. And don't call the number that's actually on their badge. You can go online and call it, or you can send a picture of me or somebody, and then we'll confirm that they're actual OSHA inspectors. We only have about 12 inspectors in all of Houston. So we don't have a lot of inspectors. I mean, we know most of them, most of the time.
What about Galveston?
It's Houston, same thing.
No, how many, any idea how many Galveston's got?
It's the same for
It's
Houston.
the same crew.
Oh, same group.
Yeah.
Shit, covering a lot of ground.
Do you have, I mean, a map of where they service? You know, we have a project down at Prairie View, things like that, and just,
So there's two offices for OSHA. There's one on, Bay Area, and then there's one in Conroe, which that's the new one that they sold. That's the total inspectors between the two offices. And as far as what they service, it depends where they feel like being that day. I mean, they're not, yeah, they go depending on where the wind takes them pretty much. If you live right by one of their houses, guess what? You're gonna be on your job all the time. That is a true statement. Okay? So you just have to make sure. All right. Another thing, after you ask for that, this is what they're gonna ask afterwards. They're gonna ask for all the HASCOM programs, all the safety manager HASCOM programs for Verizon and for all your contractors. This is where you're gonna spend some time just going over those books. This is why you need to make sure you have them already prepared there. A lot of times we say, hey, as long as the contractor has them in their truck, we're good to go. Well, that contractor is fixing to make you look very bad if you rely on that. Okay, so we need to receive a copy and have that copy at our training. Okay, whatever their manual says, it's up to, it's gonna be between them and OSHA once they get that. Once they request for that paperwork to go over that documentation, they're gonna tell you the type of inspection that you're gonna have, and it's usually called a focus 4 inspection. Okay, if it's a focus 4, that means that your job just got randomly picked. They're gonna look at 4 different type of things: fall protection, electrical, struck by, and caught in between. Now, if they find another issue while they're there, they'll actually stop the inspection and then they'll restart another inspection based on the hazard that they actually saw. Cranes, equipment, stuff like that. Okay? You need to make sure that that's the type of inspection they're doing. If they're not doing that inspection, you definitely need to let us know, because then they're doing either a complaint, they could be going back, if they've been there before, or the other one is gonna be for a fatality or injury. Because there's 2 injuries that they added now to that you have to call OSHA within 8 hours. It used to be only if a person died on the project. Now you have to call OSHA within 8 hours. If the person has something stuck in their eye, where they could lose their, where they could go blind, if there's an amputation, or if you have one person hospitalized, you have to call OSHA within 8 hours. Okay, it used to be 3. In 2016, that changed to 1 person.
Hospitalized covers like going to emergency
Like a
room with a
boo-boo.
cut.
No, so that
Oh,
means
they gotta be admitted.
admitted, yes.
Oh, right.
That's why you want to go to your clinic first, because a lot of that stuff, if you can bypass that if they don't get a prescription and stuff like that. But if they go straight to the hospital, to write out a prescription and stuff like that, then you gotta report it.
Yeah, and anyone injury,
can you explain the difference to them between the clinics they should go to and the hospital?
yeah, this is something that y'all should have posted too. What clinics do you have around your job? I don't know if Verizon checks do you have an account with somebody?
No, Al was looking into that after we went to a meeting.
We make
Okay,
our,
I'll get y'all somebody.
Can you guys?
Yeah,
we make our subcontractors provide their own clinic, so we know which one they're taking their employees to.
gotcha. So usually y'all want to point out a clinic that they can go to, or the contractor will have a clinic that they're signed up with. The difference between the clinics and the hospital is the clinics actually train them on the OSHA rules. It's not that you go over there and they take special treatment because it's a company. Most workers think that, but they're only trained on what the rules are. The difference is if they go to the hospital, you have somebody that has a deep cut A doctor in the hospital is gonna write it as quick as possible, so you get to the next patient. If you wrote amputation there, you have to call OSHA within 8 hours, even though all it is a deep cut. The difference with the clinic is they know the wording they're supposed to use on those forms, and they're not gonna put something like that where they get you into a situation where you have to call OSHA for something that wasn't something you had to call OSHA for. Okay, so that's the big difference, is those doctors are trained on the OSHA standard, so you don't get, like he was saying. Sometimes they'll give you a prescription for ibuprofen, okay? The contractor can actually go buy over the counter, and you avoided that recordable accident. But because nobody went with them, or usually you're gonna have guys that ask for it because they wanna make sure the company pays for it, at that point, you receive a recordable just because of that. Remember, this is bring your number down, and it's hard for companies to get more work like that. Got it? And the other thing, as far as, well, let me go back to this. So, once those shows up, and if y'all can have a camera on the job, this is the best thing. If you have one of those old school phones that the camera doesn't work that good, you're gonna be pretty useless at this point. Okay? And let me explain why. If OSHA bends down and takes a picture like this, you should be bending down and taking the picture from the same way they did. Because what they actually do is, they'll actually sit in conference like this after they've done the inspection, and then talk to you about some of the citations. What they're actually gonna do is they're gonna blow up all those pictures up on the screen like this, go to their office, and if there's something else that got pointed out, then you'll receive a citation for that. Meanwhile, what you need to be doing is with all those pictures is if there is any issues, then we're fixing those issues right away. Best thing to do is try to have somebody walk with you like a carpenter, and there's an issue, fix it right there in front of them, where they take a picture of that. Because I guarantee you're not gonna receive a citation for that. But you did do something, and if we go to informal conference, we have a better chance of fighting that. Okay?
Excuse me, what was that for type of inspection that you mentioned OSHA is looking for, cutting between electrical, and what was the other?
So, fall protection, caught in between, struck by, and electric.
Extension cord.
And then see a crane, most of the time they don't stop because of the crane. I mean, cranes is the big deal, right? Well, it's been for years.
Let me flip this off. I see it now.
And this is where it talks about what I just told you. You gotta report each worker dead, report each worker related hospitalization, amputation, or loss of an eye. And then all other stuff, just make sure you post signs and you keep records of any injuries on the job. Okay? So we do have 4 different standards. Y'all only fall under construction. I don't need to explain the other ones to you. You can actually go to the OSHA website, and they'll actually give you information about citations, either that Horizon has dealt with, or you can even look up your contractors here and find out what type of citations that they actually receive. That's actually something that y'all do need to start doing, because if your contractors receive citations, the likeliness of OSHA showing up to your job are a lot higher. Because at this point, they start looking at a contractor that has issues, and they'll go start finding out where they actually work. Okay?
What about unreported injuries from a contractor?
Unrecorded what?
Unreported, say one of the guys hurts himself and leaves the job site without checking out.
Yeah, I mean, what y'all need to receive is documentation on what the injury's about. So y'all don't work on jobs right now. I think they're like OSIP or anything like that, where they're contractor rent. So most of the time, what you're gonna do is just receive documentation from your contractor. Y'all do have a return to work policy that your contractors have to follow. So you just have to make sure that they follow that policy.
What about outside the 8 hours? If someone cuts their finger off and leaves the job site and doesn't say anything until the next day, find out from another guy. They're not about that 8 hours. What's our responsibility then?
So I mean, by law, the employer has 30 days to report it. So we're not gonna go tell all the workers that, right? But I mean, that's between them and the contractor as far as how they report that to you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big issue. I mean, most contractors don't wanna report it because what they're gonna do is take it to a clinic and fix it on their own, so they don't have to report that stuff.
Yeah.
Usually you make sure you receive some of the documentation from them. What they do at that moment, you don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Usually you make sure that the employee is being taken care of, because if that employee does sue, Horizon will be part of that lawsuit. Okay? So, and then we talk about the different types of inspections. You got imminent danger, fatalities, worker complaints, targeted inspections. This is like a local emphasis program, where different jobs are getting picked. And then you got follow-up inspections, which they didn't do that a lot back in the days, and now they're doing a little bit more of that. All right, here are 4 different types of citations that they can cite you, okay? First type of citation is a willful violation. So it's a violation that employer intentionally knowingly commits or a violation that the employer commits with plain indifference to the law. You get what that means? You took a training, you knew you weren't supposed to do that, you still did it, that's a willful violation. That can go up to $70,000 per citation. And let me explain what that means. If I have 5 guys on top of this roof, and none of those 5 guys are tied off, they can go 70,000 times 5. It is up to the director's discretion at that point. Okay, so depending on how much they like you that day, that's how you can receive a citation. Usually they're at a minimum citation of $5,000. The one usually that they always give it on is a serious violation. This is a violation where there's a hazard where somebody can actually die or have serious injury, and those go up to $7,000. This is where most of the citations fall under. You need to make sure this is, I mean, it could be multiple citations for the same thing. Or one guy can give you multiple citations. Okay? And you got other serious. A violation that has the regulations to safety held but probably will not cause death or serious physical harm. Where do y'all fall under that? How can y'all get a citation like that?
Hand wash?
Hand wash? Hand wash is actually gonna fall under serious.
What?
Not gonna fall under other than serious. Safety glasses will fall under other than serious. Yeah, you're walking around the job because you're the superintendent, but you don't wear safety glasses, you're $7,000 citation right there. Okay?
What'd you say is the first of it? If it wasn't stated, they can't tell you not to have the glasses or the
Your company policy.
the
It does not say you have to wear safety glasses all the time. They only say you have to wear safety glasses when you have a hazard. Horizon though says you have to wear safety glasses at all times.
Yeah.
So they'll cite you based on your own manual.
Your live feed's not feeding.
I know, it's going to upload.
So I have a question for that. So says we have to wear PPE at all time. What if you're working with substantial completion?
Doesn't matter.
Still,
The likeliness of us showing up during substantial completion is very low. They're not show up because there are not as many contractors, not that much for them to see. But they could they could cite you for that too.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's from the point you start work to the point you finish that contract that you're supposed to wear your proper PPE.
How does the client fall into that? If the client's doing a walkthrough?
It's your responsibility to make sure that client's safe. Oh, man, and you know what? I worked with UTMB for 8 years. I want to meet a client that's hard-headed about that because UT does not have to follow OSHA rules because they're government. So you talk about fighting with somebody over that every day, that's a pain in the butt. But most of the time we got to do it. Most of the time it was just fighting all the time. And we just document that stuff.
So like Mike reached out to me when their job began and asked for extra. So we would have an extra hard hat, an extra vest. They would have it on site.
What about safety glasses?
What about footwear?
If you have somebody come out there and they can't walk the site.
Yeah, we're not supposed to.
Architect with dress shoes.
Always.
Well, to fix that issue, I'll tell you one thing I did. I ordered cowbells. You know, cowbells, the bar we put on top, and then we walk in, they actually sound like a cow. the next time they show up, they'll bring their own boots. Because they're gonna annoy themselves with that stuff. I mean, I used to have pink hard hats all the time, and those guys don't wanna wear that, so they'll start bringing their own stuff. But yeah, it is your responsibility to make sure that everybody's safe when they get to that job.
So they refuse, so.
Yeah, that's documented. But
PPE from the beginning all the way to the end.
all the way to the end.
All right.
If you set up that expectation from the first time they start, then they know that they have to come out there to set foot on their own job site.
Correct.
Because they want a safe site, they don't wanna be on the news because something happened.
Yeah, and that's, you know, it makes your job easy because the biggest issue while I was on projects, I mean, when I go walk your job and I tell a contractor, they gotta wear safety glasses, the first thing they say, well, how come Horizon doesn't have to wear it? I mean, you started your own issue there, and it's hard for us to deal with that issue there because they're completely right. You're not wearing it, why do they have to wear it? And it's your policy that they're following, it's not their own policy.
I will take a look
That way,
at that in our policy manual.
yeah.
What if you wear glasses?
Hmm?
What if you wear glasses?
You have to have safety glasses.
Over that.
Either over that or by the ones that
You
are.
got safety glasses, really all right, you know, it's probably
They
something.
have shields that you can just attach to the
But
side.
they got safety glasses in all different flavors of glasses now. They got safety glasses with readers and you like this, cowboy?
I'm gonna buy you some nice.
They got them in all flavors.
I saw.
No, but they got safety glasses with readers in them now, they really do, they're like $2 a pair.
Go to Walmart. Walmart has the ones you put on the side for like $6.
You can get the face shield.
But
ones
those
that
are just
have-
readers, you can put readers, get reader safety glasses too. I've got them too. They try that shit, you don't got safety glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another thing, you just remind me of right now.
So we
Yeah, I need to make sure you don't let your guys walk with your phone on the job site. Especially around heavy equipment, you will get cited for that. Because there's a chance they can't hear vehicles around them, that is an issue. And earphones is a huge issue. Right now.
What about just job site music?
Man, you know,
It's a touchy.
I haven't seen a Horizon job have that right now. But man, those are usually you can tell the type of GC you have when there's music on the job.
What, between mariachi and cowboy music?
It doesn't matter what a job that has music on it, I guarantee you have a bunch of safety issues.
Okay.
That's almost guaranteed, man. I go to a lot of job sites and I can tell the difference. So, yeah, technically, you're not supposed to have music on site.
And what time those shit are, 9 to 5? Typically,
Yeah, they're more like 10 to 1, but.
okay, because nobody had that notion, whatever, they kind of figured out, like,
Yeah.
just regular working hours.
They're working harder now. So, and then the last one is the repeated violation. That can go up to $70,000 per violation. So like right now, Horizon got one for extinguisher. So if they show up to any of your projects and you don't have the proper extinguishers on the job, that will be a $70,000 citation.
You can still go to court over that, right? Go to court.
Well, but they're only gonna reduce it to a certain percent. And let's say they reduce it 50%, you're still looking at a pretty high citation.
That's why I got-
So they compound from job to job.
What?
Yeah. They compound from one job gets a safety violation.
Yeah.
And then comes your site, you got the same one.
I don't go to the dog.
And that's one of the reasons we brought you guys all here, to see how you affect each other's projects and how, I mean, you affect the company as a whole. You know, when we have to change an OSHA number, when we're bidding a new job, we have to put that down. And that can stop us from getting a new job, which stops us from having as many, you know?
So what if we have two labels for this company, HGI and?
It's special ed.
He's asking, what about the joint, so, you know, we have some joint ventures, like, he works for Horizon Christensen, on the city of Bel Air. Horizon Christensen gets the violation as opposed to Horizon, is that?
Oh, that's smart.
The problem is a lot of companies do that. Probably is gonna come up right there because neither one of them had ever had a citation until now, right?
Right.
Okay, so when the address pops up is when they can figure out there's a state.
4202.
Okay, so it's whoever, well, then we should put the addresses.
Get a PO box.
But,
So those, since we're the big one on that project, so our address shows up, so they're gonna fall under, will fall under Horizon.
so we don't both get it, so Joint Processing Center, it would have been Clark Construction that got it, but on City of Bel Air, it would be us that gets it.
Okay,
It's not Clark and Horizon wouldn't have got it, both of us,
Both of y'all get it.
we both, so it doesn't
All right,
matter.
yeah,
We both
both.
get it.
okay, so then if it's a joint venture, I need to figure out what my joint venture company has their citations on.
Correct. So now, here's the difference there. You're not gonna get a repeat violation for Clark. Y'all will both get a separate citation.
Yours might be the first one and theirs might be the seventh.
Correct.
How do you get a fire chief while she lived? They must have been pissed that day.
So, yeah, let me tell you something. This lady actually is giving citations mainly for expenditure. I
I got one in my truck, but it's just, we'll
It's not sufficient in your truck.
no, we put it out if they're gonna cut some or whatever, but otherwise it's just regular just remodel stuff per se, okay, they're not
If
good.
who's gonna cut though?
Pardon me?
If your guys are gonna cut or your subcontractor?
Subcontractors.
So you're not supposed to be providing that for your subcontractor.
Oh, man, I never
That's
had
where it
one.
gets great, is I don't have any
They never had one.
people that work for me directly, it's all subcontractors.
Yeah, no. Your extinguishers are for permanent, use at the job site. In other words, there's an emergency, that's what that
I just
extinguisher
got
is
one,
for.
I got one. I mean, the medical kit, whatever.
I think we set up, we have 2 floors, we set, 3 per floor for each floor.
So, look, I mean, the rule is for every 3,000 square feet, right? If you know how to set up the extinguishers right on your job, you set it up or you don't have to buy that many. They're not gonna go measure 3,000, most of them don't even have to take measure, even measure.
We just follow the architectural plans that shows where the fire extinguishers are for the building, and you should.
And you're gonna be more than covered if you follow that. And then the other thing you have to remember, you can't just go buy extinguishers and go put them on the floor. They have to be raised, they cannot be on the floor, they have to be hung on something.
Yeah, a little trap.
Build them out with a wood stand or something.
Wood stand, I mean, there's different things you can do out there. But that is Horizon's responsibility there.
What you do is you get your, rough carpentry guys to do it for you, because they do a lot of the handrails and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's phase 3 for us, right?
Just donate their contract.
Yeah, I got this one.
What?
Alright, this is so you understand how, the different type of citations and how much money citation can actually cost. And let me just say one more thing real quick about that. I just had a contractor last year, that received $180,000 worth of citations, like 170 something. So it was a roofer contractor. OSHA never came to the job site. What they actually did is they sat outside the job site and they took pictures of every guy that went up the ladder, didn't secure the ladder, no fall protection, no PPE, and just sat there and took all the pictures. When they showed up to the job site, they already had the citations that they had to give to them. So don't think that OSHA has to go to your job, inside of your job, to catch anything going on. And this is why I make such a big deal every time I go to your jobs about your boom lifts or your tied off parade. I've been to most of your jobs and they're not tied, most of the guys are not tied off, and if there are, they're not tied off properly. Okay, do they have training documentation? Because they're gonna be able to ask that, even if your contractor decides to go home, you still gotta give that documentation to them.
Nobody has that.
All right? So you gotta make sure that those are all things that you're requesting before the project begins. And like I said, this is why part of the inspection that I do on your project, we verify that you have that stuff. Okay? Well, anyways, yeah, that roofer received 180,000. They did not deal with them as far as the price. They had to pay that price. And like I said, they never even went into the job site. They got citations from outside of the job. So this is something you need to make sure, especially your perimeter outside your job. This is stuff that you need to make sure y'all look at. I don't have anything that could be unsafe, where automatically it makes an OSHA inspector stop.
But they can't just walk into your job site without notifying you, right?
As far as walking in, no, they can't.
So just get a really high temp fence.
But
We're gonna talk about what they do when OSHA comes, right? We're gonna get to that, what happens if they walk on your job site.
How's about,
Blue one?
How's about trades or someone that's not contracted through us on the job site? There's a contract. No, say the client has hired somebody or they already have a contract for some maintenance, whatever. Is it, so it's Horizon's job site, if they're safe, if they're unsafe, we're gonna get the ticket?
So no, like we talked to one of the contractors they had on the job. We just gotta let them know what the rules are. I mean, look, I'm big on documenting stuff for that reason. You know, we told them what our rules are. If they get caught doing that, hey, they don't work for Horizon, they work for the owner. The citation will go to that contractor and the owner.
Okay.
Oh,
So the
You're gonna have
OSHA,
to prove that they do not work. And they ask for contracts now. Look, the last 2 years is something you guys saw that they actually ask for contracts now. Before it was just a safety manual and TASCOM program. On this job, they asked for like 3 different contracts between the GC and the contractor.
It's on file.
Huh?
It's on file. That's what's sufficient answer, isn't it?
You gotta give it to them.
well, that's something you're not gonna fight on the job site. Right?
Right, you're not
It's gonna be you gotta.
All right.
It's on file.
so what if it's one of Horizon's subcontractors subbing out one of their work to another?
Same thing, that the same responsibility.
So it's still the same responsibility
Correct.
because the first initial subcontractor.
Correct.
So that also applies for when we're doing management position and not GC.
Correct. I mean, if you have a GC there, then you try to get the GC to deal with that, where you eliminate yourself from that. But they can still go up the ladder if they want to. So, but you will make sure on that, not in that type of situation, is you make sure that GC has their safety manual that the contractor can spot. And you eliminate yourself from that situation. Okay? All right. So this stuff, we don't need to go over. So here are the main things. So we talked a little bit about some of the things that y'all need to do when OSHA shows up. The first thing y'all need to do is, like I said, y'all need to ask for the badge, and you don't have to call the badge. What is the procedure here? What do they call from that point?
They need to call,
Elizabeth Tinney.
they do not, I don't even know who that is. Elizabeth Norton is not who you're gonna call. You're gonna call Laura, you're gonna call Henry. Laura will, this is Henry, yes.
That's what this card is about.
How much is a part around?
I got the name and number of cards and gave them to him.
Okay.
You need to call your PMs. If you're not the PM on there, then you need to make sure that you call your PM. And what do they do with the subcontractors? What do they tell the subcontractors?
Don't say that.
So after you verify their badge, during that time that you verify that badge, somebody else should be letting the contractors know, OSHA's on the job, start getting their stuff fixed pretty much. I mean, unfortunately, that's really what we're doing. If your contractor does decide to leave and all your contractors leave the job, that is up to them.
They do something.
The problem with that is, OSHA is gonna come back. Okay? I mean, you make yourself look like you're hiding something at that point. Remember, OSHA can ask for a warrant, and they can show up anytime with a warrant, and you're not gonna stop them at that point. So what you need to do is, let your contractors know, tell them to start cleaning, sweeping, doing stuff like that.
Lunch it.
Well, the problem with the lunch thing, and let me tell you, I never saw them make a big deal about it. But on that inspection, they said, man, lunch takes a long time. So what did she do after that? At about 2:00, we went back to the job site and walked the job again. So you're gonna put yourself in a bad situation. You do stuff like that. It's better just put the contractors clean. Okay. During that first hour, usually what they go is over paperwork. So you need to make sure you have all that documentation there. So don't think that because they're waiting on us to show up, you don't do nothing with OSHA. You have to be the one that's providing all this documentation to OSHA. The only thing that I want to make sure we have clear, because I've had this issue with several contractors. They brought us the issue with the ladder over there, that the ladder had to have 2 handrails. And the project manager there said, well, we don't, because the architect, they don't care what the architect says. Okay, we just need to say yes, no, keep quiet, or hey, I'll let my safety guy talk about that, and but don't put yourself in a situation where they're gonna push citations because you're not answering the way they want to answer.
They still bust you for stickers,
What kind of thing?
load raises on the ladders. There used to be a real big sticker on it. They used to come on the high rises. Oh, they're terrible about it.
I mean, that is a citation.
I was just wondering if you see it. I don't see them. I mean, you see them more than I do. I was just curious.
Yeah, they get citations. They're usually gonna give for a damage ladder before stickers, but they could. Okay,
I'm just curious.
after they've reviewed all the documentation, they're gonna say, we're gonna walk the job, and this is where I told you, they're either gonna tell you the type of inspection you're having. Whether it's a focus inspection, it's a fatality, which you will know if it's a fatality, or an injury, or it's a complaint. If it's a complaint, you can ask what the issue is, and they're only gonna go look at that specific issue. So when you call us, they're gonna wait for us to go actually look at that specific issue. Okay? If they see another issue during that walk for that specific issue, then they will stop the inspection and restart a focus inspection. Got it? All right, once the walk is done, and this is after you took pictures of everything that with them, of what you were supposed to take, and try to fix all the issues. So you take pictures of what they see, what they talk about, what they take pictures of, and what you fix. After you're done with that, then you're gonna walk with them back to the trailer. They're gonna have an informal, they're gonna have a conference, closing conference, and this is where you tell them what are the citations based on, and they're gonna say, this company had this company had that, all right, until you give you a minute, you call those contractors in so they can deal with those contractors. And you need to make sure you try to do this, so this is why it's not good for your contractor to leave. If they can't figure out who the contractor is that made that issue, guess whose issue it is? It is your issue now. Okay, so you need to have those contractors there. When those contractors get there, they'll say, hey, this is your issue. They'll ask for their information. You might as well have it in your hand already. Name of the contractor, owner, address, all that stuff. Give it to them as quick as possible. The quicker we give them that, the quicker we get them out of there. Okay? And then it takes about 6 weeks to, I don't know how long, 3 months for you to actually receive the citations. And until then, you're waiting to see what you're gonna get cited. And if they have another government shutdown, then you wait longer. Okay?
During, while you're waiting for those, they can still start doing re-inspect, or they have to wait for the citations to come out?
Oh, yeah, they can come back at any time they want.
And are they waiting on you? When OSHA comes up, can you say, we're waiting on our safety?
Yeah, so like I told you, I mean, that's the best thing to do is when they show up, tell them, hey, we're gonna wait on our safety, whatever you wanna call me. And then they usually wait enough. But it's up to the, I mean, it depends on the inspector. If they got a date night that night and they wanna leave early, they're gonna say no. We walk down. Okay, but I'll show up as soon as they're done with that inspection, and we'll go over that stuff, and then from that point on, we'll start investigating on how we fight this, or whether we're just
So
gonna
you're
pay
pretty
up.
much available from 10 to 1, right? That's legit. That's legit.
If I'm not, somebody will.
I'm just kidding. I mean, it's very rarely they walk in.
So what are my obligations if
Fire
OSHA shows
extinguisher.
up and I tell them, wait for my safety inspector? And they ask for certain things, do I provide documentation?
As far as the documentation,
I have to.
I'm not gonna know about that stuff. Remember, this is stuff that y'all need to know about. So yeah, you need to be providing that stuff before I ever get there. Yeah, once I get there, it's to walk and see what the inspection's about. I'm gonna tell you what to give them, what not to give them. And at that point, it's just better kind of stay quiet. If you see me in inspection, if I talk to them, I talk to them about personal stuff, try to get them in a good mood. Other than that, I don't tell them anything. They ask me, hey, do they receive training? Yeah, they do. I don't tell them what, I don't tell them how often. We say as little as we have to. What's your name?
Fat man.
Fat man? In other words, don't let Fat Man be there with the health inspector.
You tried really hard.
I'm busy. No. Yeah, on the job. I write forever. They will, it's common for me. It really is.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not grossly negligent, they'll be kind.
Yeah.
That's all.
The one more thing, they are gonna interview 2 people on the job. It don't matter if you like that or not, they're gonna interview 2 guys on the job. Another thing they do ask for now is they ask for all their personal information. So the reason they ask for that, and we just fought this with 2 different cases, but we had to give all the personal information for that job site. From you to the worker that was there that day. So what they actually do is they send out a letter or they call them and they ask him if there's any issues on the project. And guess what? If someone doesn't like you there, they're gonna talk.
When there's a death, they talk to everybody. I was on a
Well, they
job.
don't just do it on this time, they do it just for regular inspection. They'll go everybody.
Now,
And
some
if you
kid died a
are a
while ago.
superintendent, or if you are a PM without a superintendent, you are in charge of the safety. You are the people that are out there day to day. And so we expect you to know this information, to follow it, and to enforce it. So we will give you the resources you need. We are here to train you. We are here to help. Ask as many questions as you want. I can't answer them. I will find out the answers. But, you know, this is part of the job, and we want everybody to go.
You have to buy a lot of fire extinguishers.
Look, y'all can call me when you start a job. You can show me the layout and I'll tell you where to put them, and use that same layout as far as your emergency plan.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's those little small things you have and they won't look so hard either.
Yeah, but you know, the extinguisher was one that didn't look so hard, and now they're looking at.
That's what I'm saying, right? That's a little thing, cheap thing like that.
Question about
And
the
they'll
extinguisher.
bust you on the corners
Do
bad.
they need to be on site from the start of the project, or
Yes,
as soon as
to
the
the
building
finish.
envelope is up?
From the moment, Horizon
Start.
takes over.
The dirt.
And
So
so you
just
turn
right
the
up,
job
leave it
over.
on the dirt, okay.
So do you ever see the inspectors jump from one job site to another that's next to each other?
Oh, yeah, they do that all the time. Oh, yeah, and they're gonna take the shortcut as much as they can. And y'all need to be careful with that. If y'all do know the people in charge of other projects, you cannot call them and give them a heads up that OSHA's going there. That is a felony and you will go to jail for that.
That's how they do that. Hey, OSHA's on time.
You should have led with that.
It's a biggie.
That's a biggie, yeah, okay.
You will, that's a personal thing, not, it has nothing to do with her life. If they find out somebody called them, they will find out who called them. And yeah, you could go to jail for
I'm
that.
trying
Hey, Mark, listen,
to kind of wrap my head around how to do this with a jock at HCC or something. So we got some in the room.
Yeah.
Eyewash station, safety, all
I got
this
20 jobs getting painted all over the city.
I don't know how to wrap my head around that.
How do
Well,
we
you're
do
just
that?
gonna have to
So
talk
we
to
had, so we, you know, we're at HCC where we got jock work going on. Hey, you're painting this classroom, painting that classroom. Does each one of those classrooms have to have the eyewash station, the first aid kit? The
No, that's
printer?
No, you can have it at your trailer, but
I don't have a trailer.
here's the,
You do
here's
drive
what they
around.
do say. It has to be readily available. So then if you define readily available, is within 5 minutes.
Oh, that's your truck.
I mean, the eyewash station, they make it like that big as well, we have, it's literally that big.
Mm-mm.
So you can move it around.
Yeah, so you can move around, we keep it on the, right by our trailer.
With the trailer.
So remember, you gotta have it at your main headquarters, wherever your
With the
trailer, or what do you want out of?
My truck.
Your truck?
Mobile offices, that's what they are.
I mean, look, put it back on the contractor.
Does,
Make it your responsibility.
if the building has one, does that count? Can you use that?
If they can use it, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Is that something they
More
do
grades,
right from
everything.
the owner?
That's about everything. Pretty much.
No, there should be covered.
Hmm. They won't even come on, so I think we got over, they have more than that.
Any other questions?
Any questions you think of later, you can email to me, I'll get answers from Henry, I'm not going to answer them.
Yeah, like I said, so y'all got a card with my information on it?
You gave it.
Yeah, I
She
did, I
gave
gave
it
them
to
a card.
us. That's a 1-800 O'Henry.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Good.
Just before we all leave, let me finish streaming this.
Mm-mm.